Hey everyone, my name's Pupsker, and today I'm going over the top Runelite plugins that everyone should know about. Yeah, I know, it's the title, therefore that's what I'm doing. I'm going over about 8 or so Runelite plugins, but in reality there's over 50, so there are just too many that I would say are useful that I'm not covering in this video, so I'd recommend going and checking them out. If you don't know what Runelite is a third-party old-school RuneScape client, and it is honestly better than the actual old-school RuneScape client in every possible way. So I'd recommend using this over the actual client, always. So if you like the video, guys, remember to subscribe, and let's get right into it. The first plugin I'm going over is the GPU render in RuneScape. The GPU render in RuneScape actually has a couple of functions. Obviously, the main one is it uses your GPU to render RuneScape, not just your CPU like it originally does. So if you have a graphics card and you play RuneScape, you will now technically be able to make use of that. Before, you were not. I know it's a little strange, and that is what it is. You can increase the draw distance of the game up to around 100 or so, and that essentially, just increases how far you can view. Sadly, the game still updates in huge chunks, so once you get to the end of there, it kind of stops there. You can remove color banding, which I don't see a huge difference, but it is definitely noticeable. It essentially fills in where there might be blank white color with actual color, so it's pretty good. Anti-aliasing is anti-aliasing. It's best to put it on times 16, because, that's the best anti-aliasing, and it should cause less issues. And of course, fog depth. Fog depth, it's exactly what it is. It increases the fog the game actually has. So base game, I think, has essentially zero fog, right? It just kind of cuts off abruptly. By default, the fog depth is 10, and it does actually add a decent amount of value to the end of the screen. It makes it look a little more realistic when the game fades out into fog. So, if you aren't using this plugin, I would definitely recommend it. It'll also increase your FPS a lot, which is why the FPS counter was on during this video. At least this plugin, that is. The next one is the Entity Hider. Holy crap. The Entity Hider is actually amazing. It has the option to hide in order: hide players 2D, hide friends, hide clanmates, local players 2D, NPCs 2D, attackers, and projectiles. So it can essentially hide the entire game for you if you really wanted, but most people obviously wouldn't. I would say the most useful thing about it is it can make RuneScape look like a single player game, which is actually pretty cool. A lot of people, Iron Man kind of play single player, so it would make sense if they use it just for the memes, just for the memes. And second, it's really useful in highly densely populated areas, which in the video, I should be doing Winter Todd with Entity Hider, toggling on and off, just, so you can see how exactly it works. It's very useful, really good in Winter Todd, so I would recommend that to everyone. Next one is ground items. I have this one on always. Ground items is pretty simple. It shows the ground items, and it shows you the value of the ground items. There's actually a crap ton of options in ground items, so I'm not even going to bother going over it. But the main part is it says the ground item that drops, and it can assign a value to it based on the value in the grand exchange. I would recommend this because it's very useful for new players, because, every new player is not going to know what the hell any of the expensive drops are. Obviously, they can guess, oh, I got a high tier armor, weapon, etc. That's probably worth a decent amount, but there's a lot of niche items in the game that honestly people wouldn't know about, smoldering stones, etc, etc. Just random items that are drops. Obviously, if you're getting smoldering stones, you probably know how much they're worth, but you never know, right? There's a lot of items in the game, and it's really useful to keep track, especially if you're new. So, I would definitely recommend that one. The next one is stretched mode. Very simple, very simple. It's essentially so you can have that good old school RuneScape view in full screen. Throughout the video, I'll be toggling on and off all of the plugins while I'm talking about them, so hopefully you get the idea. It has this one weird option, which is increased performance mode, and it makes the game look, in my opinion, like shit, because it's like it just ups the sharpness a bit, and it makes it unsettling, and I dislike it, so I never have that on. Then there's integer scaling that I wouldn't recommend turning that on because it doesn't make my game full screen. And then there's keep aspect ratio. I would also not bother turning that on because, again, it doesn't make it full screen properly. Yeah, it stretches it out a bit when it goes full screen, but it's hardly noticeable. And the last one is resizable scaling. It does exactly what you'd expect it to do. It scales it and resizes it. Essentially, it does nothing though, so I wouldn't even bother with it. Like, it's maybe useful in other modes, but there's no difference for me, so I honestly can't comment on that one. Next, we're going in animation smoothing. Animation smoothing is very simple. Players, NPCs, and objects, it essentially adds more frames to their attacks and, smooths them out. It's like playing RuneScape if old school RuneScape had today's graphically FPS technology, etc. Sorry, I'm just trying to use buzzwords to sound kind of smart. But yeah, it's essentially if you put old school RuneScape and 60 FPS together, because back in the day, RuneScape wasn't 60 FPS, it couldn't even support 60 FPS, it didn't even have, I think, 10 FPS animations half the time, so this essentially makes it seem like the game is proper 60 FPS, or 30, it just makes everything better, smoother, nicer. Another one is the clue scroll one. Very simple, it tells you exactly what to do for clue scrolls. If the clue scroll says this, it'll tell you exactly where to go. It'll point arrows if you're close. If you're near the casket, it's going to be like, hey, go here. Honestly, it's just useful if you plan on doing clue scrolls and don't want to decipher, and by decipher I mean Google, any of the clues. Status bars. Oh, joys, status bars. I really like status bars because status bars actually just make the game look cool. I think it's a good place to put hit points, and it's a good place to put prayer. It's a pretty simple menu. It puts hit points and prayer just right beside your main menu in the bottom right. You can toggle on and off the prayer numbers and the hit point numbers. Maybe you just want it to look like a red bar with a health sign on it. Maybe you just want it to look like a red bar because you can toggle off the image and the number. So it's pretty cool. I just like how it looks visually, which is why I keep it on all the time. And it's easier to pay attention to your HP and prayer when it's on your inventory bar and you're paying attention to healing. So, yeah, I'd recommend it, guys. Try it out. It's really useful. And the last one I would talk about is world map. You're like, what? What the hell is that? It essentially, you have the world map, and with Runelite, it will show you all of the optional things. As you can see, there's so many ticks. It shows you things like Slayer Master, Fairy Ring codes, Fairy Ring travel icon, agility level requirement, quest names, misc teleport location. So essentially it adds a bunch of different options to the map. It just gives you more knowledge about what's actually in the game on the map. So I would recommend that, especially for newer players, because you can use it to search as well. So guys, that's the end of this video. There's actually probably another 10 to 20 Runelite plugins I could go over that are really useful and you guys should know about. But most of them are toggled on by default, so it's not really a huge difference, and I'd recommend going through the menu and going through all the different plugins and checking them out yourself, seeing how there's easily over 50 plugins. I can't say exactly how many there are. It looks to be around 50 to 60 plugins total, but hell, it could be even up to 75, 80, because I have no idea. So Runelite adds a huge different aspect to the game, which is modding. Modding just makes quality of life for the game a lot higher. And if you want to have just a better overall experience, I would start using Runelite and start checking out some of the plugins. If you guys like the video, again, subscribe. It really helps me out, and I appreciate everyone who does subscribe because, I just wanted to start making RuneScape videos about a month ago, or, a couple months ago, and it seems to be going well. So thank you guys for actually liking my videos. I do put a decent amount of time and effort into them. You guys might not see it, but there's actually a lot of editing that goes into it, mainly audio editing because I fuck up an insanely high amount of times. And I just cough and mess up. It sucks. Check out my Twitch page. I'll be streaming old school RuneScape this Saturday, but only this Saturday because I'm going to be playing Kingdom Hearts 3 probably around 20 hours to 30 hours this weekend, because I'm so goddamn hyped for that game, and I've been waiting till Friday to play it so I can play it nonstop until I'm sleepy. So, yes! Follow me on Twitter as well. It's where I'll post any sort of updates, small news, and I just meme around on there. Of course, I'll post when I Twitch stream, and once in a while just interesting YouTube facts and things about me, and, you know, thoughts that I have. So, I appreciate everyone for being here. Obviously, without viewers, there wouldn't be any point to making YouTube videos, so thank you, and until next time, peace.